The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and Damien.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien, and we are here to give you our predictions for the upcoming TNT Championship Tournament on AEW.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on your predictions for the outcome of the TNT Championship Tournament.
Enjoy the show, guys. Peace.
Peace.
TNT Championship Tournament. Let's get into our predictions and how we think this tournament will go down. Just a quick reminder on the Western Conference, as I've been referring it to, we have Cody versus Shawn Spears. We have Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. On the East, we have Kip Sabian and Dustin Rhodes, and then Lance Archer versus Colt Cabana. What are your thoughts on these 8 competitors being a part of this mid-card? Essentially, this is the mid-card belt. And the tournament, what do you think of these 8 wrestlers being the initial ones vying for the title?
I mean, my first impression is 2 things. There's definitely wrestlers here that belong. There's wrestlers here that we have had conversations on this show that we predicted would be part of this. Darby Allin, Sammy, Kip Sabian. Right? Cody, Lance Archer, Colt Cabana, even Dustin Rhodes, they don't make sense to me in here.
Me either.
But I feel like putting Lance Archer and Cody in different conferences makes it feel like they're leading. This is where we're going to see the clash happen. I don't know.
The writing was almost thrown on the wall in a way, with the build-up and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna I agree with that. I feel like that's what they're trying to throw at us.
But it's a tease, right?
But it's a tease. I don't like it. I don't want the final to be Cody versus Lance Archer. I want to see that match, but just not in these finals. And we'll get into how we all think this will go down. And did you watch the Road to Dynamite from this week?
I didn't. No.
So there's a segment where Cody and Tony are sitting in Cody's office, if you remember all the roads to Double or Nothings, and there's that real fancy office that Cody is hanging out in and stuff like that. So they're in that office and they're sitting at the table and they're kind of talking about, their commentary and how the show's been going and how they can do better. And you see on the whiteboard, there's all this information and stuff like that. And I think it's QT Marshall kind of interrupts their little meeting. He's like, "Hey, sorry to interrupt, guys, but hey, Tony, I got my bracket ready." And Cody's like, "What the fuck? What bracket? What are you talking about?" And Tony's like, hey, whoa, this isn't the time, and whatnot. And then later on, and so they get back to business and they're talking again, and then Tony gets a phone call. It's a video chat, FaceTime with Britt Baker, because, they're best friends. And, "Hey, Britt, how's it going, sweetheart," and all this stuff. And Britt's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing great, Tony. I'm just, I'm having a Starbucks and thinking about you. But, I got my bracket ready." And, Cody's he's looking at the whiteboard while this phone call's going on, eh? And, what is this bracket? So, to me, what's going on is this kind of leads back to that first week with no fans when MJF is out in the crowd and they're gambling and they're like, hey, Tony, you want in on this? I think Tony's running a fantasy fucking bracket, March Madness style, for the TNT Championship.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm thinking we're putting our names in the bin right now. And, you know, if you're listening, Tony Schiavone, you know, someone retweet the show to Tony, but we're in the bracket. Impromptu Wrestling is in the bracket.
We got our bracket in.
Yeah, we'll fill out our brackets digitally, and we'll put them up on Twitter later this weekend, at least before next week's Dynamite. But yeah, I like this idea. I liked where they were going with this, and I'm excited. So let's do it. Let's do it right now. Let's fill out our brackets. First matchup, quarterfinal on the Western Conference. Left side of the bracket, we have Cody versus Shawn Spears. Where do you think this is going?
All right, so I feel like it's gonna be a tease. I don't feel it's gonna end up Cody Archer, but I think Cody needs to move on to the next round to make this tease happen. So I'm gonna pick Cody.
I 100% agree with you. I would. Let's just say I was disappointed with the layout of the bracket. This initial bracket, I'm disappointed with it. If Cody was a necessity to be in it, he could have faced somebody else. To me, Shawn Spears should have been on the other side. Maybe in place of Colt Cabana. Maybe in place of Dustin. To me, Dustin and Cabana are the ones that don't need to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Spears would have been better off over there. But this is what it is. I'm taking Cody first matchup of the tournament.
Okay.
Sticking
You
on.
You pick the next one first because I feel like I always pick first.
Okay, yeah, sure.
right.
As we get into the second quarterfinal of the Western Conference, we have Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. Now, I was crushed that this was the matchup. And I've said it in previous episodes of the podcast that, to me, this was the final.
Yeah.
For the mid-card championship. But, I mean, we are dealing with what we're given. We're not the bookers as much as we should be. But when I'm looking at this has Darby written all over it. To me, he is the TNT champion already. So I'm taking Darby in this one.
Okay.
Good. Also, you know, fulfilling the explanation, going back into the tag team main event that we just watched and how they weren't working together and there was, you know, a little bit of tension there. It just makes sense that Cody and Darby are the semifinal.
Okay.
What do you got?
I mean, I like your explanation. I mean, if I was to hear that first, I'd probably go that way. I'm going to stick to what I thought originally, and that is that I think Sammy's going to be the champ. So I think he has to win this one.
Okay. Good stuff. So let's move over to the Eastern Conference, as you will. We have match number 1, Kip Sabian versus Dustin Rhodes. Now, I kind of just mentioned how I think Shawn Spears should be on the other side, maybe replacing Dustin or Cabana. If I was booking this tournament, I think it's Sabian versus Spears, maybe. Cody versus a Jungle Boy. I think Jungle Boy deserves to be in this.
Yeah.
Instead of Cabana, I feel like maybe one of the best friends. Trent's been doing good. Chucky's been doing good. You could even have had a Jimmy Havoc in there or a Joey Janela.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, Cabana and Dustin don't make sense. But this is the bracket we were given. We will do our best to do it. When I look at Sabian versus Dustin Rhodes, I gotta go Sabian.
Okay.
I just don't think Dustin needs this tournament. He shouldn't be in the tournament to begin with. Not as a knock on Dustin at all as a performer or as a wrestler. I just don't think he needs the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking Sabian on this one.
Okay. This is interesting because usually we're pretty straight and narrow. I'm gonna go with Dustin, and just because my pick for the last one is Archer,
Right.
and Sabian Archer doesn't make sense to me, so I'm gonna do Dustin.
Okay. And as you mentioned, the last match of the tournament, the second quarterfinal match of the Eastern Conference, as I'm calling it, Lance Archer versus Colt Cabana. You've already kind of given your pick. I mean, Lance Archer. I mean, it's just obvious at this point. You can't decimate somebody like Marco Stunt. Have the build that you have with Jake Roberts at your side, and then come in and lose to Colt Cabana. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. I'm totally taking Archer on this one. Let's stick with the Eastern Conference and go right into this. You know, our semifinals. We have two different semifinals laid out. Why don't you tell me how you see your semifinal playing out?
So that means I have Cody, Sammy.
No, let's stick to the Eastern Conference.
Oh, sorry. So I have Dustin Archer.
Yes.
So yeah, I think for the same reason you're saying, you just said that it kind of has to be Archer over Dustin. That has to happen.
So this is the reason I take Sabian.
Okay.
So in my semifinal, I have Sabian versus Archer. I think Sabian gets one on Dustin, which pushes him a little bit further up. It gets him a little bit more noticed. He's been doing a good job in his dark matches. He had that cool feud with Janela. He's got Penelope on his side. I think she gets involved in that Dustin match, and he gets one over. It pushes his character forward, and then he runs into Lance Archer and gets completely squashed. I shouldn't say completely squashed, but I mean, he gets manhandled and controlled, and obviously Archer's going to win this one. The reason I think they go this way is just Sabian's already over the moon, pushed from his win over Dustin. So getting squashed to someone the size of Lance Archer and the presence of Lance Archer is not going to hurt it, is where I'm going.
Yep.
So I'm taking Lance to get into the finals on the Eastern Conference.
Okay.
Thinking about the West semifinal now. Sounds like we're talking CFL. I have Darby versus Cody. And like I mentioned, it just ties into the tag team match main event on Dynamite this past week. It just makes sense to me. We had the time limit draw. We had the Cody redemption win over Darby. Darby is white hot right now with the crowds. He has always been my pick since I mentioned the tease of a mid-card title. I'm taking Darby Allin to finally get one back on Cody.
Okay. And on my side, for the same reason, I have Sammy over Cody.
So yeah, we're very similar in the thinking, but we just got a couple different people.
It's like Clue.
Yeah.
Right.
Sammy in the semifinal. with the video camera.
Yeah.
And I have Darby with the skateboard in the final. So let's talk about our finals then. I got Darby versus Archer, and you have Sammy versus Archer. Where do we see this going down? Because these are two very different matches, if you think about it.
Right. I think the only thing that my match has over your match is I have Inner Circle. So I could have interrupts,
There's possibilities.
things like that.
Yes.
I think for both of us, I don't know that our guys can beat Archer. Like, we shouldn't be beating Archer without some sort of interrupt or some kind of not a clean win, right?
Right.
To keep to Archer strong. So yeah, I'm picking Sammy on my side to win the championship
With Inner Circle interrupt.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do I have to write that down with interrupt?
Well, I mean, it's for the bonus point, right?
All right. Okay.
So I have the same answer. I'm taking Darby over Archer, but with a Cody interrupt.
Oh. Wow.
Which will propel the feud that is being built.
I've just lost my Exalted One status.
So yeah, I think Darby and Archer are gonna put on a match, and it's gonna be entertaining. And I think Darby does such a good job as the small guy versus the big guy, the David versus Goliath, if you will. Like, he can get thrown around, but you believe when he musters up the heart because of the way his character is portrayed, right? So he'll have offense. This will be the best test that Archer will have up to this point for me. I still think Archer comes off like super strong coming out of this. Like, there's going to be a very slight moment where you think Darby's going to win. But Archer just smashes that. And then that's the moment when Cody comes out. Maybe he's out there with Arn Anderson, like however they're going to do it. But it's almost like Cody giving the belt to Darby, much like Triple H gave it to Kevin Owens, gave the Universal Championship to Kevin Owens, if you remember that. I think it's going to be a similar situation where the ref's going to be knocked out. It'll probably be Turner as the ref. Bonus point for calling the ref in the final. I'm calling Paul Turner.
Okay.
And Turner's going to be knocked out for whatever reason, however it's going to happen. And Cody's going to come out and take out Archer and give the eyes to Darby and say, it's all yours. Roll out of the ring. Darby hits a coffin drop. Ding, ding, ding.
Man.
I mean, that's how I would book it.
I like your version way better.